I believe that the United States of America and Turkey are currently feeling disrespected by Russia, in my opinion. There is no set time for the meeting, no agenda, no high-level delegation. This is a personal sign of disrespect. I'm not saying that the Russians don't respect us, that's already obvious. But for us, it's mutual. However, in this case, it's a lack of respect toward Erdogan, a lack of respect toward Trump. Trump is sending a large group of people, including Secretary of State Rubio. Who are the sides in this war? Russia and Ukraine. Secretary of State Rubio is present. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkey, present. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, present. Where is the corresponding person from the Russian Federation? This is disrespect not just to Ukraine, but to everyone. Above all, I believe, to Turkey, because the meeting is being held here.
Russian dictator Vladimir Putin was afraid to attend negotiations with Ukraine that he had originally proposed. The Kremlin instead sent a low-level delegation to Istanbul just to buy some time for the Russian army to capture more Ukrainian land. Meanwhile, Trump's administration does not expect Russia to end the war. So why didn't Putin attend meeting with Zelensky, and how does the negotiation play out right now? As we know, Russian dictator Vladimir Putin proposed direct talks on May 15th in Istanbul in response to European ultimatum for a 30-day ceasefire. President Zelensky, after that, urged Putin to meet him in person, but later on Thursday, the Kremlin said that Putin was not among officials due to arrive. However, Putin was so afraid of direct talks with Zelensky, Putin refused to attend negotiations that he had originally proposed. President Zelensky accused Moscow of disrespect toward Trump and Erdogan because of Russia's delegation's lack of seniority and credibility. Meanwhile, Russian delegation told reporters in Istanbul that Russia saw the talks as a continuation of failed negotiations in 2022 that took place shortly after the beginning of full-scale invasion. The Ukrainian delegation was headed by its defense minister Rustem Umerov and included its deputy heads of intelligence, military, general staff and foreign ministry. Russia's deputy defense minister, deputy foreign minister and military intelligence head were also there. The meeting between Ukrainian and Russian delegation happened today, but the US didn't expect any kind of breakthrough because Putin did not attend the negotiations he had originally proposed.
But I want to be frank, I don't think we don't have high expectations of what will happen tomorrow. And frankly, at this point, I think it's abundantly clear that the only way we're going to have a breakthrough here is between President Trump and President Putin. It's going to require that level of engagement to have a breakthrough in this matter. I don't think anything productive is actually going to happen from this point forward until they engage in a very frank and direct conversation, which I know President Trump is willing to do. The president is impatient to end this war. He's impatient, as he's been clearly said, that something needs to happen soon. Too many people are dying. There's too much destruction. And I think he's ready to have that engagement and determine once and for all if there's a path forward and what that path is. We haven't been chasing this around the world anymore. I mean, that's already happened. We came because we were told that I was going to be here anyways, obviously, but we came because we were told that there might be a direct engagement between the Russians and the Ukrainians. That was originally the plan. You all heard the same thing. And the level of team that was sent by the Russian side is certainly not indicative of one that's going to lead to a major breakthrough. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm 100% wrong. I hope tomorrow the news says they've agreed to a ceasefire. They've agreed to enter serious negotiations. But I'm just giving you my assessment, honestly. I don't think it's going to lead to that.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump is not disappointed with the low-level Russian delegation participating in negotiations in Istanbul. US President Donald Trump says he and Russian dictator Putin need to get together to reach a deal on Ukraine. The president insists he is not disappointed with Russian president for not showing up for negotiations with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One as he traveled from Doha, Qatar to Abu Dhabi, United Emirates on Thursday.
Mr. President, are you disappointed in the level of the delegation that the Russians sent to Turkey?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not disappointed in anything. Who are you from?
BBC News.
I'm not disappointed. What would I be disappointed? We just took in $4 trillion, and he says, are you disappointed about a delegation? I know nothing about a delegation. I haven't even checked.
Look,
Nothing's going to happen until Putin and I get together, okay? And obviously he wasn't going to go. He was going to go, but he thought I was going to go. He wasn't going if I wasn't there. And I don't believe anything's going to happen, whether you like it or not, until he and I get together. But we're going to have to get it solved because too many people are dying.
Additionally, NATO foreign ministers met on Thursday and debated U.S. demand to ramp up defense investment to 5% of GDP over the next 7 years. At talks in Antalya, Turkey, NATO defense ministers, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said that more investment and military equipment are needed to deal with the threat posed by Russia. The debate on defense is going on ahead of a NATO summit in the Netherlands on June 24-25. The new spending plan under consideration is for allies to spend 3.5% of the GDP plus extra 1.5% on defense spending. NATO Secretary General also commented on Russia's low-level delegations sent to Istanbul for negotiations with Ukraine.
All right, good afternoon.
Our main focus was on boosting defense spending. This is the core deliverable for the summit and will be a key area for the alliance in the years to come. Increased defense spending is essential to our security. It is needed to meet the capability targets that allies will soon agree and to ensure that the alliance is ready to face any threats and challenges. The ball now is clearly in Russia's court. The Russians are sending a low-level delegation now and not taking up the opportunity President Zelensky has been providing. He said, I'm willing to sit with Putin. As soon as a ceasefire is there, we are willing to negotiate a peace deal. So Ukraine is clearly ready to play ball. But that ball is now in the Russian court. And I'm really thankful for the fact that the United States is laser focused. The president and his whole foreign policy team, including Marco Rubio, on bringing peace to Ukraine.
Meanwhile, French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot warned against falling into three traps that he said led to the failure of previous Ukraine-Russia talks. The minister said that Russia could use the negotiations as a trap to delay ceasefire talks. Those included holding talks via bombs were still falling on Ukraine, forcing Ukraine's demilitarization without security assistance, security guarantees, and lifting sanctions prematurely. Minister said that such traps would definitely prevent achieving any kind of success.
What we want to avoid is falling back into the three traps that led to the failure of the negotiations held in Istanbul in 2022. The first of these traps is that discussions take place without a ceasefire, because you don't negotiate under bombs. And in 2022, it was in particular the Bucha massacre, perpetrated by Russia, that led to these failed negotiations. The second trap is to want to impose demilitarization on Ukraine, in other words, to deprive Ukraine in advance of security guarantees that would allow a truly sustainable peace. And the third trap that should not fall into a second time is the one that consists in wanting to lift sanctions at the beginning of the negotiations, rather than at the end.
Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky was ready to abandon potential talks with Russia in Istanbul on May 15, but American and European sides convinced him not to do so, according to the Washington Post. Two diplomats told Washington Post that Zelensky was disappointed with the development of the situation with talks in Turkey this week and said that he would not even allow a meeting of the Ukrainian delegation with the Russian one. Zelensky did not see the point in the trip. Representatives of European states and the US have privately explained that it is important for Ukraine to at least send a delegation of high-ranking officials to Istanbul, including the head of the presidential office, Andriy Yermak, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Andriy Sybiga. Also, US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff convinced Ukrainians that participation in direct negotiations with Russia is beneficial for both sides. He says that if representatives of Ukraine are present and Russia is not, then there will be consequences for Moscow, and if both sides are present, this could bring a ceasefire closer. Also, despite US efforts to bring Putin to the negotiating table, Russia is massing forces on front lines for an new offensive to seize additional territory of Ukraine, according to the latest US assessment obtained by CNN. Russian commanders are looking to form a large force to conduct offensive which would be aimed at seizing more Ukrainian territory. Putin will try to capture more territory all the way to the outskirts of Kyiv. The Russians will do everything they can to get everything they can, according to CNN. It is largely Ukrainian drones right now and the effectiveness of minefields that are holding Russia back, despite significant advantage in human resources both in eastern Ukraine and in Russia's Kursk region. Meanwhile, Russia has its own problems with culminating and accumulating the desired forces. However, there is no indication, according to CNN, that North Korea is capable of significantly increasing the number of its troops in Ukraine after losing thousands of soldiers in combat. At the same time, US President Donald Trump has conducted his formal state visit to the United Arab Emirates during the Russia-Ukraine negotiations in Istanbul. US President Trump says that his administration has secured a multi-million-dollar deals with the government of the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates and the US have signed an agreement for the Gulf country to build largest AI campus outside the US. The agreement to build the campus would give United Arab Emirates expanded access to the advanced AI chips. Sources also told Reuters that the United Arab Emirates could be allowed to import 5,000 of NVIDIA's most advanced AI chips after Trump's meeting with the UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The White House sources said that he announced deals that include $14.5 billion commitment from Etihad Airways to invest in 28 Boeing planes.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Your Highness. What a lot of people don't know, I think my staff is very surprised by it. You and I have been friends for a long time. We've been good friends. And what they don't know about you is that you are considered a truly great warrior. And you've been through the wars. You're a great warrior, a very strong man, a brilliant man, a man of vision, like few others, I have absolutely no doubt that the relationship will only get bigger and better. Your relationship and mine can't get better, so I can't say it's going to get better because it's at the highest level it can be. But our countries will work together. We've become a very hot country. We were not such a hot country 6 months ago. And now I think we're the hottest country, if you want to know the truth.
That's all for today. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and glory to Ukraine.